Well, there's a new rule I really hate with the Senior Bowl. I'm gonna have to talk to them about that next time I get a hold of those guys. Usually it's SEC media days. There's a new rule where they can invite junior eligible players to the Senior Bowl. Before we dive into the mini balls who were picked on the Senior Bowl watch list, that means James Pearce Jr. He's not going to go to the Senior Bowl, but that means he got invited. What are your thoughts on that rule?
Yeah, I don't get it. I think this is a way to try to make people more excited about I think this is a way to make people more excited about the fact that they could do more draft analysis with it, because I think people love draft coverage, and now all the best draft picks are players leaving early for the pros. So I think this is a way to generate more coverage for, they want the first takes down there of ESPN, or they want the Fox Sports shows down there, because those guys do all the pre-draft talk of the top, first round guys. And those first round guys are generally guys now who leave early, right? So that's what they want. It helps generate more coverage because of that.
But you and I know that there is no way in creation that a draft eligible guy 9 out of 10 times they're not going to go to the Senior Bowl because they're projected so high that they don't want to risk injury at the Senior Bowl. I mean, James Pearce Jr., I will go ahead and bet 5 mortgages is not going to be at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah, he's not going to be there. They're hoping some of them will show up, though, because the truth of the matter is, Dave, and I will tell you this, I know this, scouts are, I talk about unintelligent people in positions of power in football all the time. Scouts can be some of the most unintelligent people. The things that they value are mind-numbingly stupid. And at the top of that list is the Senior Bowl. They value that, and they value bowl games, and they overvalue those and become prisoner of the moment way too often. I've seen it 1,000 times over, and I think you might see that again. And so, because if you're James Pearce and the scouts ain't that bright, you may want to show up for the Senior Bowl. Now, James Pearce, you're right, that wouldn't be the guy. He wouldn't be the guy, because James Pearce is going to be a top 5 pick, and it's going to be so consensus that it would be news for him not showing up for the Senior Bowl, because everybody would know he's going to be that great. So no one's going to be like, oh, well, James Pearce, we don't know what he did in the Senior Bowl, so I don't know if we can take him. I mean, no one's going to do that. But I do think that there could be other juniors that might do that.
Okay, so let's take a look at the seniors that were invited. I'm going to see if you and I differ on this. So who are not invited? Who are the Senior Bowls on the watch list?
So Vols on the Senior Bowl watch list, because you said who are the Senior Bowls on the watch list. Sorry.
Senior Vols on the bowl. Yeah. The watch list for the Senior Bowl.
All righty. We just named James Pearce Jr. Now let's name the actual seniors. Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins, John Campbell Jr., Brew McCoy, Amari Thomas, Omar Norman-Lott, Bryson Eason, and Keenan Peely.
Okay, I want to talk about those guys. It's first, I want to ask you, who are the top 4? James Pearce Jr. is not, we're not going to discuss him. He's not going to the Senior Bowl. It's silly. So who are the 4 out of the true seniors of that group that you think are the 4 best? I'm curious if you agree on this.
For the NFL, I think Cooper Mays, because of Brew McCoy.
Okay.
Call me crazy, but I'm going to go Javonte Spraggins.
Javonte Spraggins over an Amari Thomas? I know you're
Amari Thomas. Amari Thomas is my 4th one. Amari Thomas is my 4th one. But again, I say this all the time, and I want to say this about Amari Thomas. I love the guy. I mean, I do. I told you I love him. But Dave, I love him because he at his max in college is a solid player who takes another step because he's got a Rudy Hard and great leadership skills. But solid player, your NFL potential is very limited at that point, right?
Fair. Okay, so I'm going to reset it because I had a different 4. So I'm going to go with yours because yours is better, because I forgot my buddy Coop. I feel really bad about it.
And by the way, and before people ask, I'm not naming Keenan Peely because Keenan Peely's 135 years old, okay?
Yeah, and our first one, Peely got 0%. Yeah, Keenan Peely, I got to see him play more. So who will be the Vols' top senior? Brew McCoy, Omari Thomas, Cooper Mays, Javontes Spraggins. I could see all four of those making all SEC. That would not surprise me at all.
I can tell you right now, 3 of them will. And the only reason Brew McCoy won't, if he doesn't, is if because he dictates so much coverage that Tennessee starts going more squirrel light.
I talking to a source just yesterday, Brew McCoy, if you thought he was an incredible athlete before, has even upped the level that his body is at now. I think he's going to look even better, and he looked really good. So any outside the top 4, because the poll question right now, Brew McCoy and Cooper Mays tied at number 1, followed by Omari Thomas and then Javontes Spraggins. I think we're selling Javontes Spraggins a little bit short, guys. But who else out of that group, not James Pearce Jr., out of that group do you expect to have a good season? Because I think that Brew, Cooper, Javontes will be all SEC players. Anybody else, including Omari, that will be all SEC players, an all SEC player, who has the best shot?
So Amari, I think he will, but I will say the hard part with Amari and any of the defensive tackles is, Dave, they rotate so much. It's just hard to really stand out as a defensive tackle. But I do think Norman-Lott will have a good season. Bryson Eason has always been there and a reliable team guy. I love Bryson Eason and Keenan Peely. I mean, so I think they're all going to have good, solid seasons. And John Campbell Jr. moving over to right tackle, guys, he could be an all-SEC guy too at right tackle. Don't sleep on that. The real question becomes, Dave, because I think I got a few people that may have been left off this list.
Okay, this is the early watch list, so I don't think that they know everybody, especially when you factor in, and I know this senior, but Jim Nagy, I know those guys, and if they had to factor in all these draft eligible juniors, then their workload didn't double, but it increased significantly. Who should have been on the Senior Bowl watch list?
The only one, the one I wanted to name, the main one I wanted to name was Elijah Simmons. And I know you could say that he hasn't done much up to this point, but neither has Keenan Peely. And that's about potential. But we keep hearing that Elijah Simmons, if he's right and if he's fully healthy, he's the defensive tackle on this list that could be a star.
Okay, let me do this. I'm going to set this up here. Drafted or not drafted? We're going to do that. Okay, so starting with Cooper Mays. We're drafted, right?
Hey now. Drafted. He's, by the way, he's going to, even if he doesn't do well in the combine, the interview process, Cooper Mays is going to be the best interviewee of anybody.
You know why, don't you?
Because you taught him.
Yeah, you did weekly tutoring with Dave. Javontes Spraggins.
That's the extra services hookers provide. Tutoring.
And cuddling, but you have to pay extra for that. Javontes Spraggins.
Jim Cooter would love that. Sorry. All right. No, but he should. But no, he'll sign with an NFL team and he'll make a name for himself. He'll sign with an NFL team and he'll land a roster spot and become a regular in the NFL, but he won't get drafted.
Okay, that surprises me you say that. I think he will get drafted.
Hey now.
John Campbell Jr. at tackle, drafted.
Yeah, he'll get drafted.
Okay.
That's crazy.
I don't think he's as good as Spraggins, so we differ.
I don't either, but we know what NFL scouts value.
He plays tackle. I get it. Brew McCoy.
Oh, yeah, he's getting drafted easily.
Hey now.
Okay, now you tell me when to stop. First 10 picks.
No. He won't be
Okay.
first 10.
Okay. First 20 picks.
Nope.
First round.
Nope.
Second round.
Yep.
Hey now.
I'm your huckleberry.
I got to agree with you, and I hate it because I think the injury, even though he'll be completely recovered from that, I think that somebody will say we like that receiver better because they're similar, and that receiver didn't have the injury, and he may not be as old. But I'll tell you this, if you want a man, if you want a leader on your football team, he should be in the first round. And
I agree.
Sometimes that stands out, sometimes it doesn't, Caleb.
And it's twofold. So there is the injury, and there is also, you can say whatever you want about it and whatever he's been at Tennessee, but the NFL looks for this stuff, and they look for reasons not to pick you. So his issue at USC is going to work against him, fair or not. That will be held against him.
Right. The issue where he was supposedly not supposed to go on campus, and then the charges were dropped, and it sure sounded like Southern California's athletic department was mad at him, and that might have been part of it. That's a weird place. I told you I toured that campus with my son, right? I mean, it's almost like you go into like a prison that's right next to Compton. It's
it's right in the heart of SC, which, by the way, and you know this, Dave, because you cover recruiting, one of the reasons California or Colorado under Bill McCartney was so good, and Nebraska, was they would go into Compton because parents in Compton didn't want their kids going to USC because they wanted their kids to get away from the gang culture, honestly.
You're right. Don Self, State Farm customer service still matters. For 40 years, Don has built his business on taking care of their customers, greater Chattanooga area. Call Don Self, 423-396-2126, 423-396-2126, or go to donself.net, donself.net, which is in the description box just below. Amari Thomas drafted.
Yes, I think he'll get drafted. I think he'll get drafted very late. I think he's like, for those who don't remember, Matthew Butler, who was a draft pick from Tennessee after Josh Heupel's first year. He'll be like a 6th or 7th round draft pick, and he'll stay on the roster because I think wherever he goes, this is weird, Dave, but don't you think the NFL sometimes works like a business, which is to say that maybe a lesser employee at a business keeps his job because he's so well liked and he's just a good guy for camaraderie?
Not me, so I just axe him.
No, but I mean, Amari Thomas, even if he has some physical limitations.
No, I agree. I think there's a lot of, as a matter of fact, I don't want to exclude anyone, but I know for a fact that Mays, McCoy, Thomas, Peely, and again, I'm not trying to name them all, but I know there are at least 4 really good leaders, which should benefit them. But at the end of the day, the NFL is all just about what can you do for me. All right, so we got Omar Norman-Lott, drafted or not?
No, not enough chances.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But he will land a roster spot.
That's hot.
Same for Bryson Eason?
He'll get a shot. I think he'll get cut, though.
Okay. Keenan Peely.
He won't get drafted. He'll land a roster spot, though.
Boy, if he is the prototypical middle linebacker, you don't see many of those guys anymore. Have you noticed that? Guys are lighter and quicker. I mean, you don't see the Ray Lewis's. I mean, am I forgetting? Am I overlooking somebody? I mean, to me, he fits that mold, and I don't know that that's what the NFL is looking for, a linebacker.
No. I mean, I think they want one linebacker that can still do that. I think there is still value in that to this day, but I mean, let's not forget, for a while, Ray Lewis was an undersized linebacker to a degree. He was just a very smart. I mean, Ray Lewis was an undersized linebacker when he was first playing. And by the end of his career, he was more of a larger, outdated style linebacker. Funny enough.
Can I tell a quick Uncle Dave story?
Let's go, Uncle Dave.
All right. Brought to you by the Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Go to hemphousechatwith2ts.com, hemphousechatwith2ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. HOOKED for 10% off. Ray Lewis, when you talk about football and guys that are fast, I know that you watch on TV or you're at the game and you're looking down and you can say, man, Jason Witten is faster than Michigan's entire defense, right? I mean, you have perspective like that. But when you're on the field, it's kind of difficult to see if a guy's a step or two faster, if he's a 4.4 instead of a 4.3 guy. I mean, we're talking about a 1/10 of a second, right?
Yeah.
The 2 fastest people I've ever seen in person. One's Ray Lewis. I saw him you could go the last 5 minutes, you could go down on the field. And I said to myself, I do not want my son to play NFL football. right then. He was that fast, and it was that crazy and scary. It was like you're in the middle of a horror film. And the other time was Jamal Lewis when he ran the 4.32 40 at 235 pounds and ran his way right into the first round. Nobody was expecting that. That's the two times that my eyeballs, with no stopwatch, have seen somebody that speed and size ratio absolutely blew me away. That's my two guys.
Physical freaks. That is kind of a crazy story. The weirdest part about Ray Lewis, so you just said that about Ray Lewis. Have you ever seen someone that freakishly physically gifted who also has an incredibly high football IQ, in the sense of Ray Lewis was the Peyton Manning of film study on defense.
And motor. I mean, he's, other than killing people, he's a perfect linebacker. I will take you back to the Jamal Lewis thing. And this was when a pro day was open sometimes, closed sometimes. It depended really what mood Condridge Holloway was in. So at this time it was open, so we got to see Jamal run, and his entire family was up on one of the perches overlooking the field. You should have heard them cheer. I mean, I've seen guys run 4.32s before, but at his size, it was absolutely bizarro. Time for where are we? This day in Tennessee. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. We got to mention Elijah Simmons. We can't leave him out.
No, we can't leave Elijah Simmons out. Elijah Simmons, and I wanted to ask you just about a couple of guys real quick, if you don't mind, because Elijah Simmons is not on this list, but I still think maybe he should be. Is that weird to say?
No, he shouldn't be on the list, but if he stays healthy, he'll get drafted.
That's hot.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's what you think?
Yep. That size speed ratio, if he is healthy, then he will get drafted. Now, you could be Billy Ratliff, who, God bless him, had so many injuries and had won his final year at Tennessee that they say your body's just too beat up. But if he's healthy this year, he'll get drafted. And if he stays healthy in the NFL, I will go ahead and go out on a limb that he will be one of the steals of the 2025 NFL draft.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's
like a third, fourth round guy, because that size speed ratio, that automatically bumps you up. Whereas if you're a receiver like McCoy, there are a lot of those dudes. So you can drop because of the leg injury. But with Elijah Simmons, I think the size speed ratio will push him up probably a little higher than it should. As long as he's healthy, I think he's going to be a player in the NFL for quite a long time. But that's a monstrous if.
No, that's true. You're right. That is a monstrous if. The last one, last couple I would want to engage with real quick, Dave, is, and this is an honest question. Andre Carrick, not on the list, technically a senior. Do you think do you think there's any chance whatsoever that, that Andre Carrick,
I think that he works? Yeah, I think there's a greater chance Andre Carrick transfers than gets drafted.
Wow. Okay. And here's the last one. Could maybe work his way into this. What about this is kind of funny to say. What about Dane Davis, the utility lineman? Been with Tennessee for a while. Or Jackson Lampley, both of those guys. Funny enough.
I'm going to go negative on both of those. Sorry. I mean, Peyton's mad at me.
Like, that is total bullshit.
I'm sorry. I don't see those guys making it.
Wow, you don't see? Okay. I mean, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. I don't see those guys making it at all. I'm just kind of trolling at this point, but,
If you're agreeing or disagreeing.
No, I mean, I'm with you. They're not going to make it. Like, let's just call it what it is. I was just trying to see your thoughts on all of this.